Welcome to BrotoGP. This is episode number 97, presented by Riders Law. It's been 2 weeks. I'm sorry we got here late, but I had to race in Laguna. Kev had to take care of some family stuff. Ev is like moving and married and, all that shit. It happens. What happened? Jorge got a new fuel tank, made good use of it. He ended up signing for HRC. Dani Pedrosa gave a really terrible press conference. Silly season's going on too early, and a bunch of people crashed. Let's get this thing moving. Kev, who's
Yo,
here today?
me.
Yeah, who's here today?
Kev.
Who's below you?
K-Dog.
Who's below you?
Who's below me?
Who's bottom bitch today?
Who's bottom bitch? That's my main man, my wheeling dealing, my limousine riding, jet flying son of a gun, Ev, directly below me. Everyone welcome Ev back after a brief hiatus while he sold and purchased multiple homes, deals, businesses, and whatnot, because that's what he does. He's a mover and a shaker, and he basically keeps the worldwide economy going single-handedly. So if you have a job, thank Everett.
You're welcome, I guess. I don't know what that even means. Moving out of area is fucking chaotic, boys. That's all I can tell you. And not having internet for 3 weeks is fucking just not even appropriate for 2018.
Yeah, and as we can see in the video, you're not even at your new home. You're at someone else's home.
I'm a fucking goddamn gypsy vagabond type of shit, man. Like I literally am never at my own house anymore.
Yeah. No, it happens. What else we got to get into?
We also got Rob. Rob's here.
Hey. So yeah,
Hey.
I just said, I just got done racing at Laguna, which is why we kind of had to delay this episode. A bunch of you met me. Shout out to the young teenage boy that like came up to me on his bicycle and was like, "I love BrotoGP. BrotoGP is awesome. It puts me to sleep every night."
What? That's the worst endorsement ever.
Big thank you, but yeah.
He thanked me. So my response was, "Fuck, I didn't know kids were listening to this podcast."
Fuck.
Right.
Fucking stupid fucking dipshit kids are listening to this podcast. Fucking little assholes.
We've gotten a few requests to cut down on the swearing, and as you can tell, that's not happening. No, I'm gonna jump in. So if you don't remember from last episode, we started up a voicemail account, and you could call us and leave us a message. So I'm gonna jump into one right here, right now, and just for the kick this off. So here we go.
So it's not like a question, it's kind of like a request. Like, I was told that it was totally okay to call in to be drunk dialing by Jen, so I'm calling in. I'm just saying that she should be on the show and just kind of talk about whatever, because we need some just input about whatever. So whether it's MotoGP or some sassy comments, we should totally have Jen on the show. By the way, this is Amy. I'm totally drunk, and it's totally awesome. You can say.
Damn, it's like an episode of Chicks in the Wild up in here. We got chicks drunk dialing us.
Who the
This
fuck is
great.
fun, man? Like, whatever. Let it happen.
Right.
Yeah, that's not even the
sex tape. Whatever, let it happen.
Let it happen. Let it happen.
Yeah, so thank you, Drunk Amy, for leaving us a voicemail. I think after your resounding review of Jen, I think we'll have to expand the BrotoGP host situation. So I actually got a few asks when we were at the races about racers that want to come on and host an episode. They want to host an episode. They don't even want to be an interviewee. They want to host an episode. Right. So yeah, we'll do that. We'll get some of our fans.
Who wants to interview a racer we can just get drunk and talk shit? I mean, fuck.
That's what we do. They want to do it too. Who doesn't?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's like you got to talk to your handler before you can do that, though.
Right.
All right.
That's why we explicitly only invite non-factory riders on the MotoGP.
No, that didn't happen. I invited quite a few this weekend. But all right, let's of course, this episode is brought to you by Riders Law. Riders Law, they're your California motorcycle accident injury lawyers. If you need any legal help, if you're in the state of California and you want guys that fucking win all the goddamn time. I found out today they haven't lost a case for 4 years. The last one they lost was in Rancho Rancho Cucamonga, I think, here in Southern California. It was 4 years ago, and Cy literally told me it keeps him up at night still because
Right.
it was 4 years ago, right?
I'm going to give a quick shout out to them too, because I've seen a bunch of other outfits coming up, but these guys have been around doing it for a long time too. So they clearly know what they're doing. They'll help you out.
Yeah, and I mean, and they're supporting racing. We've got a huge team at Moto America. You come up to the Riders Lab booth if you're at any of the Moto America rounds. You can talk to Cy there, ask her some legal advice there at the track. If you just want to get autographs from the racers during the paddock show, like go ahead and do that too. They support our sport. Let's support them.
When they ride too.
And they're fucking animals. Cy will drink you under the table, dog. I don't care who you are. Cy could drink 9 drunk Amy's under the table and not even be phased, son.
Is that how we measure now at drunk Amy's?
Drunk Amy's.
Not 4 drunk Amy's, not 5 drunk Amy's.
Yeah, exactly.
9 drunk Amy's. That's deep.
To get through the Catalunya round, I basically had to be a solid 6 drunk Amy's because that was the most boring fucking race I've seen in so long. That's
really?
Okay, maybe not 6 drunk Amy's, but a solid 4 drunk Amy race. So this is an inversion. The higher the drunk Amy content, the worse the race is. I just want to point out.
Unlike this episode, the more drunk Amy's we have on here, the better it is. And Jen, we need. I wonder if Jen is gonna come on drunk too with drunk Amy. Should we get that? That'd be nuts. That'd be too nuts. Yeah. No, you brought up the race. So we're gonna do it. Jorge took advantage of his new fuel tank and was able to essentially just pull away at the front and win the race. It was a decidedly, Jorge 2012, 2013 sort of win. And I got to agree with you, Kev. I didn't really like it all that much.
Right, here's the thing about Jorge winning the race. Like, Rob loves it when I use, like, drunk ex-girlfriend analogies to describe things. So when he first won that race, it was like getting back with your ex-girlfriend that you really shouldn't, that it wasn't that great, and y'all fucked and it was good. But the next morning, you remember that she didn't give head, and that ain't ballin'. And you hook up with her again, and she still doesn't give head, and you're like, wait, why am I doing this? Oh, dude, what is even the point? This isn't actually as fun as I remembered. I have saved pictures on my phone that I remember that it was fun, but it's not actually nearly as fun as it sounds. And when you go back and actually do it after the initial excitement of like getting, a piece is good, but then like not giving head, doesn't really want to like explore fun positions, just wants to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. It's monotonous as fuck and you don't care. You're like, what am I even doing with my life?
When you said that, I just thought of that kid on the bike that came up and...
Why are you thinking of kids when he's talking about sex?
No, because...
Well, here's the thing, kid on the bike. What I'm telling you right now, kid on the bike, I'm going to think your name is like Brad. Yo, Brad, here's the thing. You're going to hook up with some chick when you're like 19, and then you're going to break up, and she's going to break your heart, and it's going to suck. But she was terrible, bro. She didn't know what she was doing. She was like 19 or 20. You're going to hook up with some chicks when you're 21, 22, 23. Then she's going to submarine you on fucking Facebook like a motherfucker or Snapchat or whatever. Once she's going to Snapchat you with titty hanging out, and you're going to hook back up with her, and you're going to remember that she was actually terrible.
Dude, but you know what? That's what's funny, right? Is we all are getting tired of watching the same old story, which is the consistent Marquez. And then here we get something new and exciting. And to your point, the grass isn't greener. It's not new and exciting. It's old and boring.
Right.
Just the same. It's just different, old and boring.
Right. It's different, old and boring, son.
Yeah, so we got a little old and boring out front, but
Jorge is a hot Mormon chick. She's fucking hot, but it's boring.
Yeah.
That's I don't even know what to say about that one.
All right, next topic.
All right, moving on. No. So let's before we move on to other stuff, let's talk about his fuel tank. So I thought last round that it was freaking amazing that he actually put his money where his mouth was. Right, he got the new fuel tank. He won the race, and he does it again this round, right? So there's some consistency there. I mean, last year, Mugello is when Dovizioso kind of put on his charge for the title, where he started it off. So I kind of expected the Ducati to be able to go well at these two tracks.
It's their test track.
Yeah, Mugello was. Catalunya,
Mugello
was. Catalunya, they kind of continue the form a little bit. But Jorge just does it again, and I'm just flabbergasted that a fuel tank can just put together, just make these results come for him in the way that they have.
But Rob, how moving an inch or two back, and we saw, you've seen this in racing over the years, that moving the weighting just that slight amount forward or back enough can make that difference, right? To put the load on the front end or put the weight over the back tire to give you that grip out of turn. So
Yeah.
it's not, who else was this? Ben Spies did it back with Yamaha and World Superbike, was it? Or they really
before his swing arm cracked? Oh, you mean in World Superbike?
Remember they brought the fuel tank down into the chassis, like it was down underneath the inside the
seat,
twin spar, under the seat, and it made they were like, wow, new bike. So
yeah, I mean, and that's a very good point. Like when the MotoGP teams move the engine around, because that's all adjustable, they move it 1 or 2 millimeters around. Moving Jorge Lorenzo around like back at 20 mil with a new tank fairing is going to dramatically change both the weight bias of the motorcycle. It's going to change his riding position. It's going to but that's not what he told us they fixed, right? He told us that it was too difficult for him to finish the race with his riding style. So you got to imagine, like, they put that new tank fairing on there, and then Ducati fixed the setup to kind of take it back to where it was before.
That's because he's old man Lorenzo with a dad bod with no kids. And
I actually have a different concept on it. I think that the fuel tank, it's not that he's out of shape. It's not any of that. It's that he needs to feel a certain way to perform the way he wants to. So, like me and Rob been talking about in some other, I've been exploring whatever concepts. Yeah, exactly. I've been exploring other concepts. But if you look in the concepts of economics or business, there's this old kind of obscure Italian guy. It's called the Pareto principle, which is that 80% of your results come from 20% of your effort, right? And this is true in business. Like 20% of your clients are 80% of your profit.
I love it.
You love this Business Kev, but this explores into other stuff, right? And some of the thought process, like training combat martial arts or in riding or in sports, is that the best way to maximize your practice time or your skill set is to amplify the 20% that gives you the 80% of your results, right? It's basically the inverse of the law of diminishing returns, because effort and reward are not equal. There's a certain amount of effort that gets you to here, and then to take the next step, you have to give too much effort for the reward, right? Like Jorge would have to take too much effort in changing his riding style, too much effort, time, and energy for a small amount of increase, which is ability to maintain that pace for the final 7-8 laps. Yeah. Whereas when we realize that the 80% of his results come from the 20% of him being comfortable, smooth, in the zone, and confident in himself. So eventually what Ducati needed to do was realize that Jorge spending this much time and energy, it took a year to get to this point, but all we have to actually do is make him comfortable on this bike, and the 20% of that comfortability will achieve the 80% we need to win races. That's called the Pareto effect. If anyone wants to go up, it's 20% of soybeans produce 80% of the crop yield. It's a bunch of other stuff, but from a real Kev point of view right now talking, at some point you realize that Jorge is a peculiar rider that has a peculiar style, but if we simply put time and effort into that small portion that makes up his peculiar style, the yields we get will be massive.
So I'm going to transition that to the silly season talk here. I actually heard from someone that is very well connected that Ducati was aware that he wanted a fuel tank a long time ago. And they pretty much said, no, we've paid him 12 fucking million euros. We are not going to do it. And then it's like, no, we're not going to put in the development. Like, I mean, I think we talked about last episode that, it was a $250 part to produce a new fuel tank fairing. Probably not, because we're talking a factory effort, right? They take 3 technicians to make the thing. Yeah, it's a small sum of money compared to his salary. But this is the mentality, man. Back when I worked for an Italian, helmet manufacturer, it was the same thing. We'd tell them sensible things, and they'd say, "No, you got to do it our way or the highway." And it was just like, why are you making me do irrational shit to be successful? Like, I know what I need to do. Just let me do it, and I'll be successful. And they just say, "No, you got to do it our way or the highway." And it's just, but we see this with other factories too, right? It's just logic doesn't prevail ever. I don't know why. Listen to your rider. Remember Josh going to Moto2 telling us those stories about all the shit he did, and they were like, no, you have to ride it this way. He's like, but I can go faster the other way. Well, the other guy goes faster like this. Like,
right, but I wasn't the other guy.
That wasn't even a factory team, right?
No.
Jorge isn't Dovi, and Dovi has this many years put in.
Right,
Jorge doesn't.
right.
And I'm not really like defending Jorge because like you have to be able to compromise. And the idea that all you needed was a slightly changed fuel tank to win is crazy. That shows the specificity of his riding style is almost too sharp. Right, the point of where
he did compromise. He compromised by learning to use the thumb brake and learning to actually ride with the rear brake. Right, so
right.
he definitely put in some effort to change his riding style. It's just not all of the effort because the rest of it, like we'll bring the principle of diminishing returns here. Right, he did the easy 80%. And then the hard 20% was going to take just as long as the easy 80% as far as riding style changes.
Here's whether you want to argue it, whether it's a good thing for the fans or a bad thing for the fans. Here's the thing that we're all going to miss out on is the what if Lorenzo could have been a title contender on that bike and we'll now never know. Unless this year pans out because, this guy's a world-class rider. Had this bike been the way he wanted it, we're getting shortchanged on a fucking series here. He could have been battling a Marquez all the time if this thing had been better.
Yeah, on one hand, it's frustrating to know that what was holding him back was something as simple as a slight body position change. On another hand, it's frustrating to know that what was holding him back was a slight body position change. Like, that's not hard to change. You know what I mean? Like, there's no engine there's no fuel tank size restrictions. There's no testing restrictions on making new fuel tanks. And we could make fun of him and joke around for the Mugello episode, like, oh, it's a fuel tank, fuck you, you're lying. But he gets into a fuel tank and hits 2 on the bounce and 2 dominating victories. That gets him out in front. He runs his style. I mean, he has that peculiar style that require if he's in the front, pounding out his metronomic laps, he's able to do it. And when we look at the percentages that allow Jorge to be Jorge Lorenzo and be fast, fast bike, good aerodynamics, but it really all comes down to he needs to have be in his flow state. So I was talking to a guy on Instagram talking about flow state training, and Rob, this is pretty interesting regarding climbing and cycling, but to maintain that flow state, we are in the zone. Like Rob currently looks like he belongs in the Matrix right now with those glasses. Like he picks up a phone and disappears and he downloads Kung Fu. But if you remember during the Animatrix, there was that original animated one where the guy runs and he's running so fast, he enters that flow state and he wakes up in the pod, right? Like because he's become enlightened, right? But there's this idea of that Jorge needs to enter his flow state where he simply does not deviate at all because he's so in the zone, and his ability to enter that zone or that flow is very precarious. You can actually do flow state training. It works really well for climbers, for cyclists, for anyone who needs to, for climbers when they have the danger aspect and they get worried, they get nervous, to re-enter that flow state. I was talking to a cycling friend, and you can use calming music that's then interrupted by very discordant sounds, and you train yourself to re-enter into the flow state, like mentally, to
that
not
sounds
be
terrible.
Right, but you train yourself to not so you train, So you're listening to like Bach, and then all of a sudden John Cage comes on. If that's a super old school classical music reference.
I mean, those situations happen in racing, right? I was trying to get into that state in the middle of my race at Laguna, and there was someone unexpectedly dove up the inside, and I was like, holy shit, he didn't make it fully, so I'm gonna try and pull this around the outside, but it fried me, right? Yeah. And then the next 4 or 5 laps were terrible. I was making mistakes because it knocked me out of the zone.
Right.
And
so
it took me a while to get back into it.
If I was HRC right now, I would look at Jorge Lorenzo and think, here's a guy who's won on a bike that's very difficult to win on for other people. He's won on multiple manufacturers. And I would think, okay, I would view Jorge Lorenzo within the Patero principle of amplifying the 20% that gets 80% of our results and let the rest fall where it may, and then work on his flow state training, and then psychologically. And I'm not talking about 2008 Marco Melandri. I'm talking about, we know you are invincible when you are in that state, so we will now maximize your ability to re-enter that state regardless, because that's going to be the difference between him winning in rain races, flag-to-flag races, disrupted races, is how can we as quick as possible re-enter that flow state, because he's not going to be able to win every race flag to flag. It's simply not going to happen.
So you brought it up. Let's transition then to Kev brought it up. Let's transition to HRC. and Jorge Lorenzo signing for HRC and being Marquez's teammate. We've posted a shit ton of memes about it. And I mean, what do you guys think, right? We're already talking about his ability to essentially mind fuck himself and to get out of the zone. And going against a teammate like Marquez and not being the number one rider and not getting the technical support and having to learn a new bike, to me, this just seems like it's the perfect storm to just mind fuck him again for another year and a half.
And that'd be my first, idea is you watch just the series today. People aren't adapting to the bikes in the first year. It takes a year to 3 years, right, to get even remotely close to comfortable. We're now seeing him finally hit the comfort level with the Ducati. You're going to go hit that reset button. He's going to go to HRC, and there's going to be tension in that garage with 2 Spanish riders. So I am hopeful that he's a contender on it immediately, but that bike's hard to ride. We've seen it.
I have an actually polar opposite opinion of that.
Yeah, good. Disagree.
I would love to make some jokes about how they've already been teammates before. See 2015, haha, made the joke. We predicted they'd be teammates, all of those fun stuff. But here's the thing. Rob mentioned his ability to mind fuck himself, but what does he now have? He knows in his heart, in his soul, in his brain that I can win on anything because I won on the Ducati. No one believed me that I could do it, and I did it, and I knew exactly what I needed to do to win, which is I just needed to be comfortable. I needed my fuel tank. I needed to be in a place where I could not be fatigued and pound at the same thing. So he knows that he can do it because he's proved it to himself, right? And he's proved it recently. Is it a harder bike to ride? I think so, judged by results. But Jorge has a sense of confidence that you only get from coming back from the ashes. The dude's
a mental champion. I mean, he's clearly got the mental fortitude to handle all this shit, and getting through this Ducati thing is a great statement to your point. But what if he goes to HRC and the same thing happens where they don't let him do things? They're an engineering company more than anybody. So
and that's the $5 million question is, did HRC sign him to take away Marquez's only real rival?
That's what's crazy. I can't believe they have those two powerhouses in their camp. That's just nuts.
I mean they've done those moves like that before, right? They signed Jack Miller to prevent Yamaha from snagging him, and yeah, we could go further back, Kev, if you want to drag up the history of times where they've done that. The $5 million question is a very good one, and we're gonna have to find out. But I kind of agree with Ev that because he seems to be so fragile and is willing to do the up and down as far as the mindfuck, that he's gonna get there in the off season, and the same thing is gonna happen. He will have more confidence because he was a comeback from Ducati, but he has to learn a new set of engineers. Right, it's Japanese engineers, thankfully again instead of Italian engineers, and
less emotional.
yeah, probably
less passion there.
Yeah, ride the fucker.
Kev, I like how you're attempting to like talk with your hands like an Italian, but we can't see it at all on the video because you're back on your cell phone.
Sorry about that, guys. Rob had the bright idea of updating my computer so that when I moved in or out to the mic, it would self-adjust faster. But what actually happened was
it wouldn't self-adjust at all.
My computer took a giant shit, burned itself to the ground, and left a giant gaping hole where my computer used to be. So currently we're back on my phone until we can fix that. Rob actually volunteered to explain to my girlfriend that he ruined her computer and lost all of her videos and all of her phone, her images, all of her photos, all of her music, and that.
What a dick!
The tech guy taking one for the team. Taking one for the team.
This has conspiracy written all over it, Kat.
Right. Hey, so right in the middle of the podcast, because fucking Josh Herron complained that he skips the first 7 minutes, so we didn't do all of that. But I want to throw a quick shout out to my boy Knack of the Motorcycles and Misfits podcast. You guys can't fast forward this because it's right in the middle of the fucking episode. He is going to be in Cincinnati for Vintage Days along with Liza and a few of the people, and he asked if you guys are there, if you're listening, if you're going to the Vintage Days, they're going to go get drunk and wasted and do burnouts and video it and have a podcast. They're cool peeps. Find them if you want, and they're at the Recycle Garage Misfits and Motorcycles podcast.
Yeah, they have the remote recording that thing on point, whereas
Yes.
I failed miserably to record something at Laguna Seca this weekend.
Correct.
Live
Yeah.
broadcast from the paddock.
What? Oh yeah,
So,
no,
like,
there
if
was
you're-
absolutely no service in Laguna Seca. I couldn't even check live timing half the time because there's probably one cell tower up on the hill, and you end up with like 40,000 people, i.e. more people than at some of the other World Superbike rounds, trying to connect to one cell tower. It just don't work. But another shout out to Benjamin Marshall for ordering shirts and then also donating to the cause. So
like
thank you,
money.
Benjamin Marshall. You're gonna make it so that we can print more shirts. You're gonna make it so that Kev can probably, honestly, we're gonna have to just buy Kev a new fucking computer. And by Kev a new computer, I mean Kev's girlfriend Danielle a new computer.
What?
Yeah.
Seriously.
So yeah. Thank you for your support. Shout out to you, Benjamin Marshall. You're awesome. Cheers. Come. Yeah. He said thanks again. Beers on me. Which that'll happen. I already got one right here. Ev, what
but
are you
anyway, back
drinking?
to the race. I'm
on a diet, dude. My wife put me on a diet, man.
brutal.
I'm kidding. That's my brother.
That's a Corona Light. That's the diet. It's not about eating healthy. It's about eating healthier.
My wife would never put me on a diet. She likes the dad bod.
Luca just texted me if I want an In-N-Out, and I actually turned it down because I've been on the road and I've been eating junk food the entire time.
God.
You are dead to me, Rob. You are fucking dead to me.
Get a double with cheese, bro. Let's go.
A double? No, you got to order off the secret menu. I need a
4x4
with some animal fries and a grilled cheese.
I mean, I almost said Neapolitan shake, but I did have some Rocky Road ice cream for lunch. So
who the fuck has ice cream for lunch, man? No wonder
a fucking boss. That's who. I mean, if you can't have ice cream for lunch and you want to eat a cake for dinner, what's even the point of being?
We had this conversation before. If you're an adult, that's the point of being an adult. Is just cake. You can just eat cake whenever the fuck you want.
Bitch, I will have my cake and eat it too.
Yes, exactly.
That's forbidden.
No, yeah, that's the problem. And there's so much eating out when you're not home for a race event.
There's so much eating out. Title of Rob's sex tape.
Hey, I like that one.
Hey.
Oh, wow. Everyone missed the start of the episode, the pre-episode, talking
fucking
about butt
preamble.
stuff.
The
All
preamble.
right, so let's jump into more silly season.
Your
here.
right to eat out is an inalienable right bestowed upon the creator.
Eat out daily.
Let's jump into silly season. Dani Pedrosa held a press conference at the beginning of the weekend, and it was kind of found out.
Thing ever.
Yeah, right. We found out about it because HRC canceled. We found out about it before MotoGP.com published the press conference schedule, because HRC canceled all of his engagements for Wednesday and Thursday or whatever, right? And so it was said that there was going to be something that he was going to announce. And then we get to the fucking press conference, and what do we get? we get I don't really have anything to announce. Something came up.
Never mind. Well, you know what I heard from a pretty obvious source, because I was asking about the new Yamaha team upon hearing that, because Lorenzo was rumored to go to the new Yamaha team, right? And then I checked in on that, and the rumor is Morbidelli and Pedrosa are supposed to be slated for that.
Yeah. So if you're not sure what Ev is talking about, Petronas, of course, they've sponsored teams in GP before, and classically shit the fan. And was it World Superbike?
Foggy,
No, I thought they
back in the foggy days. Yeah.
Didn't they also have a?
They had a Moto2 team.
There was a.
That was right. Kev was correct.
What was that? What was that bike that they made 50 of?
Triple.
That was
okay. World Superbike
allow me to take you guys down history.
You just got me excited, dude.
I just got fucking jacked. I'm so jacked because there's nothing better than fucking the spirit of the rules, right? Because HRC is so obsessed with the spirit of the rules. So Petronas, backed with Carl Fogarty, made the weirdest looking teal green with red stripes triple back in World Superbike, right when World Superbike was still in its heyday, but then it switched over and they made this shitty triple. So they made 155 of them per homologation requirements, and they stuck them in a cargo container in Malaysia, and 4 people saw them, and no one ever even actually knew that these things existed. But they were like a 900 triple back when that was the rules per
Was
what
it a
you could
V?
have.
Was it inline or a V?
It was an inline triple back when you had to have a 754, a 1000cc2, or a 900 triple, right? The triple's the stupidest fucking engine in the world. But they decided they would
Moto
Moto
2.
Moto 2. Right. Triumph sponsors us.
No, I hear it. I got a photo of them literally stacked in a warehouse, just all sitting right there. And this is probably a somewhat recent photo. Like, they still exist. They were never sold.
So they were never sold.
Yeah.
They were made but never sold to the public. They had the inspectors come, and then they like literally didn't do anything with them. They stuck them away, and then MCN like found them 10 years later. Like, it's a pretty hilarious story. They had Steve Martin riding the bike on wearing a helmet that was the same company Everett worked for at one point. And they also had Troy Corser riding it during the weird time when they switched over to Pirelli and no one raced World Superbikes. There's only 2 factory teams, Ducati and Petronas.
Dude,
anyways, I got really obscure for a second, but that was such a weird time when that shit would happen. Like, remember when remember when Harley had the VR1000 and they faked it? Like, they had it taken apart in one room, and then they let the inspectors come in and look at one, took them out of the room, took them to a different room and said it was a different bike, but it was clearly like half of the same parts for that stupid piece of shit Porsche designed VR1000. Right, straight goon status. You know what I'm saying?
Dude.
No, I was reminded about they almost won a race, and then like the clutch or the rear brake failed or something, and they almost won the Daytona 200. And with like a couple of laps to go, something failed on the motorcycle, and it was no, I remember what it was. The shifter fell off.
Yeah,
brutal. The shift, right.
Sounds about right. Well,
something that you just put a tiny hole in and you safety wire the thing so it doesn't fall off.
Here's how you reminisce over budgets. This was back from 2003 to 2006. They spent over 5 years. They spent 30 million pounds developing and didn't score a single point in World Superbike.
In
Petronas.
Fucking brutal.
Yeah, that's the old days, bro.
So y'all can understand when we now talk. So now that we talk about 2018 and this like shadowy idea of Petronas sponsoring a factory Yamaha team, you can understand why we are a bit apprehensive to believe the rumor fully yet.
No, they've got the money. They'll do it.
Oh, no, they have the money. They're fucking Petronas. They have oil, and oil makes the world go round.
They're the Chevron of Indonesia or some sort.
Right,
Malaysia.
right, exactly. The Chevron of Malaysia. So we're talking about a Sepang International Circuit run team sponsored by Petronas.
Big bucks.
But you can understand when you look back now my apprehension, like Movie Star sponsored Danny Pedrosa in 125's 250, famously got fucked over by Repsol and then disappeared for sponsoring for a decade until they returned. Red Bull, same thing. They sponsored the Yamaha 500 team with John Hopkins and famously were upset they couldn't get the unobtainium from the factory bikes. They were throwing too much money. They disappeared for a decade. So that Petronas is coming back, you can understand my skepticism after spending 50 million pounds or whatever it was over 5 years to not score a single point in the B series.
Yeah. So the full rumor right now is that Petronas is that Mark VDS has sold their grid spot, because all the grid spots now are guaranteed, right? They're owned by the satellite teams so that they know that they have lasting investment in the sport, which is good. They also, each grid spot comes with like a €2 million payment, a subsidy from Dorna to pay for good riders and to pay for equipment. And it's almost enough to actually run a team at the bottom of the barrel. It's not enough to win, obviously. But yeah, so Mark VDS is selling their spot to Petronas. Petronas is going to acquire the satellite Yamahas. They're going to run Franco Morbidelli and Danny Pedrosa in next year. So I mean, I hope that we find out more.
I'm super stoked that Franco's taking the seat. I'm super bummed that Danny's potentially taking the other seat.
You're bummed about Danny Pedrosa. I'm excited about both riders. Why are you bummed about Danny Pedrosa?
I just don't. I don't know, man. I mean, I just feel like he's at the tail end of his career, and maybe it would be good to see him in AMA or Motor America or sorry, man, old habits die hard. or a World Superbike or something. I feel like he should go out on the top instead of fading out over time and just kind of just being a has-been. I don't know.
But he's already faded, right? Like
That's
him
my
going to
point.
Yamaha
Like,
is
then
something
why take
refreshing.
the seat? Don't take the seat from my whole fundamental is dude has money, dude's famous. Go do something else and thrive the sport. Don't keep on taking the seat from up and comers, man. It's the one plague. There's only 20 prestigious seats, 24, whatever it is now. Like, just don't take that seat. I like
Yeah,
the
I mean,
Keep going.
from Petronas's perspective, right? Danny Pedrosa is a very, very popular rider. Maybe just outside of the United States.
No.
And he is better. Like, he's better than Tom Luthi. He's better than Xavier Simeon. He's better than Carl. Like,
that's not the debate. He's a world-class rider. I'm just saying. Dude's had his moment.
It's the same debate that Kevin and I had last episode about Roger Hayden just kind of like, retiring and giving the seat up to someone else. Even though at Laguna Seca he managed 2 podiums.
He's still a great rider. Same type of presence in a series.
The one reason why I want to see Danny Pedrosa and why I'm excited to see it is because it violates and breaks Soriano's law.
Fuck! I was just gonna say, my man Don invented that term.
So Soriano's law, everyone, if you don't know, Soriano's law, literally Kevin has been saying this since 2006, is that Danny Pedrosa will spend his entire career at HRC, at factory Repsol, riding that bike, and he will retire. He will never ride anything else. He will never go to another team. And it was looking like Soriano's law was going to be satisfied with this fucking press conference that Danny Pedrosa was going to do.
It ain't over yet, man.
And then it ain't over.
Because he didn't announce it, that's for sure.
It ain't over, but I feel like we might got honeypotted. Look, I actually agree with Everett here and disagree with Rob. I don't want to see Danny Pedrosa take a step down to some new shit team on some satellite thing run by shifty money. I look at Loris Capirossi and he fades out. He goes to Suzuki, then he goes to fucking Pramac, and no one fucking cares, and it ruins the end of the career. Danny Pedrosa has one of the greatest careers in the history of the sport. He's certainly the greatest rider never to win a championship. He's won a race every single year. It's not shade. That's not shade.
That's a Mamola Pedrosa conversation.
He's way better than Mamola. It's
not even a conversation.
In my opinion.
Not even a conversation. We're not pulling a Zarco at the press conference.
He won races his rookie year. He's fought for the titles. He's had years where he won 7 races. He's won a race on 990s, on 800s, on 1000s, on Michelins, on Bridgestones, on the return to Michelin. You know what I mean? His career is long and distinguished, like Mike Johnson. And
he should pull Biaggi and go to Superbike and win a championship there.
No, it's just be done.
No, he shouldn't.
He's injured. He's, like Everett said, he's on the tail end of his career. End it with hopefully getting a win and some podiums and call it a day. What does he think he's going to do for his career riding for a brand new team on a satellite bike that probably is only a placeholder until Valentino's team comes up and takes that grid spot, a team that doesn't really want Pedrosa as much as they're just using him to start the team, but they want someone else. If it were me right now, I would rehire Jonas Folger, a guy who has experience on Yamahas, on Michelin's, who did podium, bring him back into the fold on a less stress-free or less stressful environment to have some – look at that cat going by. What's up? Pearl. And for me, Danny, just retire, man. There's no there ain't nothing good going to come of this.
The reality is that what's he going to achieve? It's just
this is Jordan coming back on the Wizards and missing dunks, bro.
He's stuck attached to it's his life. It's what he's known since he's been a kid, though, right? Like in the paddock, the routine. I think it's letting go of that. That's the hard part. Any athlete, like pro ball players that have played baseball, football, whatever, right? They just can't let go of that camaraderie and that routine. And I think that's probably it for him.
But the reason why I'm looking forward is all those things you just said, Kev. Like the timing is perfect for him to spend 1 or 2 years on a Petronas Yamaha. It's something we've never seen before. It's something that could turn out better than his spot at HRC right now. We know that he doesn't ride like Marquez or Cal. The Yamaha could be better for him. And maybe he puts it in the top 5 regularly.
Bro,
right? It's not as likely because Petronas versus Tech 3 as far as like team skill and technical expertise is not even a conversation. But it could happen. And I want to see it to fucking break Soriano's law, and then he can retire.
you just want to see it, so I'm wrong.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
You sound like my fucking girlfriend.
Awesome. No, I mean, yeah. Well, hopefully we find out. We actually have to find out very soon because Yamaha gave a deadline for essentially the end of June is the deadline for them. If they don't know that someone is going to ride the satellite Yamahas by then, they won't have time to make them.
And here's the other problem. Like, you're talking about a team thrown together at the last minute that's barely meeting deadlines.
No.
Yeah.
They're just taking over for Tech 3. They're going to rebrand all that Tech 3 shit, get some new guys, and move on.
No. Tech 3 has taken all their guys to KTM.
I know,
no,
the guys. Trust me, the Yamaha's going to have techs, man. There's not just a bunch of just
It's not Yamaha. Like, at best they can hope for is hiring some of the Mark VDS crew. And so those guys don't get fired or laid off or whatever.
My point. They're gonna have people.
That would be better. But at the same time, we know that Mark VDS, like they've been working with Hondas and they're not doing so hot. Right? I think Siren it doesn't have any championships nor any really that many good results, and he's beating Franco Morbidelli in the Rookie of the Year.
Here's the bet. Here's the hobo bet. That the new Yamaha satellite team, whatever it ends up being, we'll assume it's Petronas, is going to beat the KTM satellite team.
Ooh, that's a good bet. I was actually just wrong. Franco Morbidelli just scored a couple of points. He's now ahead of Siren in the Rookie of the Year. But
take it.
All right.
Come on, Robbie. You know you like that one.
So wait, which one? So you say Petronas is going to beat Danny Pedrosa. Wait, and you're talking the satellite KTM team.
Yes, that's the bet.
I mean, all right, I'll take the bet. Just to let you know, everyone, the winner of this bet just puts it into the loser of the bet just puts the money into the BrotoGP fund. I will take the bet, but I know I'm going to lose.
That's a lame bet. We got to make
Miguel Oliveira is a beast, son. If you guys saw that race, I'm not sure Danny's got it in him to take it to Miguel. Did you guys see that fucking race? He passed like 83 people in the first fucking lap.
I'm taking Morbidelli, man. Franco's the man.
Franco is the man.
You're not taking Danny Pedrosa as your top rider on
he's gonna pull the satellite Yamaha? He's going to do what Caparex did. Just fucking cruise out and tail end glory days of his career, man. It's lame.
God damn. I mean, Franco, like the second he rides an M1, him and Rossi are going to be talking.
Yes. He's going to fucking throw out, dude. It's going to be on. He's going to go replace Rossi. Watch.
Yeah, that may happen. All right, you brought up Oliveira, so I got a listener question here. Let's do this one.
What the fuck was up with that bro riding into Oliveira after the finish line? God damn! Anyway, that's the most exciting thing that I took away from this GP after watching everything. So many crashes. But have a good night. Bye.
Bro,
all right. Haters gonna hate, man. Gotta take him out.
Bro, that shit was fucked. What even was going on there? He ass-packed him so hard, it was ridiculous. Like, the amount of jokes I can make about that is like 83 Rob sex tapes. Just bam. I mean, God, bro. No lube, no tickle, no nothing, no reach around. Just what the fuck is up? I mean, that was literally the definition of surprise butt sex.
Did he get a point?
He has to start the next race from the back of the grid, which of course is the most hilarious thing. Yeah, we have a guy who rides dangerously in the back of people, and of course he's back.
Just put him in the back. Like, dude, you gotta start from the pits, man. Like, you clearly can't do this shit. Like, go here.
I was watching the Moto2 race, and I actually turned it off before I even saw that, and just to watch the GP race. And then someone commented somewhere on it, and I turned it back on, so I knew ahead of time. And I'm like, they're showing the onboard, right? And all the riders are zipping by, and I'm like, oh, like just getting more and more tense. They were going by with like fucking 40-mile-an-hour deltas. It's insane how fast they were going on the cool down lap, and you see 2 or 3 riders go by at a time. Someone's just not gonna see him.
Trying to do? Those fucking kids are all trying to do wheelies and fucking showboat.
It was like
you
the
don't
most
do wheelies.
cringeworthy thing.
They do.
It was just,
you don't do wheelies at 120 miles an hour at the end of the straightaway just for shits. You fucking slow down. You pop it up in second gear at 40. Like, goddamn.
Right. And then Oliveira just took it like a boss. No big deal. He didn't even fight. It was like nothing. The guy's fucking made of iron, dog. Like, you did not even flinch. He just, he gets ass packed like 200 miles an hour, fucking full on prone, and he just at the podium, at the press conference. It's nothing. It's all good. It's all good, son.
Yeah. I mean, he did the right thing, right? If he would have like had an altercation with Simone Corsi, did anything else, right, he would have also been penalized. So you just walk away, you let race direction take care of the guy that's being reckless, unless his name is Marquez, and you go from there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel like he should have got hockey on him, just grabbed him by the leathers and just start swinging wildly at him. You know what I mean? Like,
oh really?
I
mean, yeah, it would have been nice.
Yeah.
All right. So that voicemail, I think, was that Jen?
I don't know who that was.
I don't even know. They didn't leave their name. I don't know who that was. If you left that voicemail and your name is not Jen, I
have no idea
apologize.
we have so many female listeners.
They're only on the internet. You know how many female T-shirts I sold at Laguna? Like 2. And like they weren't at Laguna Seca, but we know they're all over the internet. All right, so let's talk about the crashes. There were crashes. There were so many crashes in every single crash. I don't have highlights of all of them. We will get to one of the most important ones at the end of this conversation. But let's do the Moto3 Turn 1 crash first. You guys can't see this, but I'm going to show it. Right, so all these little kids on their Moto3 bikes just decide to go in hot into corners, cross up tires.
Yeah.
Right, the Turn 1 was bad. Like, thankfully, no one really got that injured. I mean, what do you think? Injured. Was it just the heat? Was it just the heat?
They're maniacs, man. It's just
these little kids.
Yeah. Well, what it is they all just dive bomb the turn and they're jockeying for position. Then they realize, oh shit, I'm in too hot, and then your shit just can't physically do what you need to do to stop the bike or get it where you need it to be, and everything compresses. So shit happens. I mean, it's unfortunately just part of racing.
Yeah, I mean, I got the other crash here. I think this is in, what crash was this? It was like Turn 5. But yeah, it was always like 3 bike pileups. All these little kids are going down. A bunch of people crashed in Moto 2. Like, before they changed the track layout, right? There were so many crashes the previous years when we were using the turn off the back straightaway with the sweeping one, and now it seems like all of the crashing has moved to a different section of the track. It's insane.
Well, all I know is those kids ride crazy. I mean, you got to think too, though. If you're a Moto3 kid and you're in that series, all you're trying to do, you got so much pressure on you to excel and succeed. All you're trying to do is fucking go for it all the time. So, like if your
name is Bulaga and you haven't done anything until this round, and then you get hit and taken out.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, it's just Moto3's. It's. I mean, I think we can all say this over the last 5-6 years of watching it. It's just been fucking nail biting, just like intense. And I'm always just watching how close they are and how tight they are.
If there's any straightaway on the track and they can draft, it's insane how tight the field can be. Like, the number of people that pull away is significantly less than the other classes because of the draft. It holds the field closer together. But all right, do you guys want to talk about the almost crash first, or do you want to talk about most important crash of the race? Which one? All right, the Marquez almost crash or Dovizioso's GP crash.
Nuts. The Marquez crash was nuts.
All right, the Marquez almost crash first.
Yes.
The final corner, one of the practice sessions.
How long can you hold a fucking crash on your elbow? That's the question. Like,
it wasn't on his elbow at this time. That's the one reason why he saved this one, is because it was on his knee. He wasn't at max lean angle when it went down, because he crashed a couple other times throughout the weekend and tried to save it on the elbow, but it was just too fast. It went quick.
And this isn't the first time that he saved a crash by, an elbow down crash by holding his knee out and it catching kind of violently almost. Mm-hmm. Look, the dude's a fucking genius, right? I mean, he's a savant when it comes to riding, but how many times can you abuse your fucking knee like that? That dude's like, how many times before you tear an MCL? How many times before you tear the fucking shock load that he puts on his leg to save these crashes that aren't even in a race is insane. Like, I know you've been saying it for years, but at what point does this style of riding catch up with your body? And then, you know, he hasn't crashed a lot and got hurt. He crashes a lot, but doesn't get hurt. But I was almost more worried about that violent catch.
That was nuts, man.
Well,
he hasn't dislocated 4 seconds or so.
He hasn't dislocated his hip. He hasn't like pulled a groin or had a groin injury. Like, I'm just thinking like the leg getting pulled backwards because the force on the knee puck is so much that it's rotating his knee around.
Yes.
So that then he's like missing the knee puck.
It was like, it looked like his knee was fucking inverted, dog. You know what I mean? Like, what? Yeah, exactly. I don't even know what the fuck was going on. And
beautiful man. He had to be there.
But
so
is it sustainable?
So Cal Crutchlow said 2 things of interest related to both the weekend and this crashing. One, he said that most of the Honda riders are on something resembling a 2016 chassis, which more evidence for peak frame. And then the second thing that he said was he said that
that's
Marquez...
not evidence, dog. That is clarification.
Clarification.
That is not evidence. That's clarification. That is literally proof is in the pudding. That is proof of concept for our and Mac's idea of peak frame. It was achieved in 2016, and anyone who attempts to improve upon that frame only goes in a downward spiral, aka Yamaha. Every other team who accepts peak frame and attempts to find their improvement in other areas improves.
And the only ones that are still improving on chassis are teams that had problems with their 2016 chassis, like the Ducati and the Suzuki, and of course, eventually the Aprilia, right? They haven't reached peak frame. They haven't reached 2016 frame. Right. But no, so the other point that Cal Crutchlow said is that Marquez is making the other Honda riders look like idiots because he's able to save all these crashes. And I entirely disagree with him. Marquez is not making Cal or Dani or Morbidelli or any of them look like idiots. He's making HRC look like a bunch of idiots. If you have to crash the bike like 5 or 6 times a weekend to win a race and to fight for a win, the bike is deficient. There's something wrong with it because you're not going to get the more than one once in a generation rider that can accomplish that.
The only person making Cal look like an idiot is Cal.
Well, we've been saying that for years, man.
Right. There's only one person that makes Cal look like an idiot, and it's the English guy with a hat on who speaks too loud, too often, and puts his foot in his mouth too often, and it's Cal Crutchlow himself.
Wait, was that like a backhanded compliment? Like,
no, I will never backhand a compliment. I will only fronthand insult.
Oh man!
Hashtag
no, I mean,
insult.
So what do you think about like what do you think about the chassis and Marquez crashing, making them look like idiots, right? So Marquez isn't making them look like idiots. Is it HRC's
other way
issue?
around? I believe if we go back to the Patero principle I was saying, that 20% of your effort gives you 80% of your results. They simply know that they do not need to put the effort into certain areas of the bike because Marquez will overcompensate, so they can put their energy into the portion that will give them the greatest yields. They know that by focusing on that initial 20%, they can win races and win championships because the effort to fix that problem isn't worth it because it's not actually a problem. Right now, crashing 5 times a weekend is not a problem.
Right now.
It might be in the future, but it's not a problem right now. From a budgetary standpoint, they can afford it. From a rider talent standpoint, they can afford it. They know that they can basically put all their effort into a couple different areas and maximize those areas because any potential front-end issues they have are masked by Marquez's supreme ability to ride through front-end crashes. So don't put effort into fixing the front end when you don't need to.
How many Hondas are on the grid? 6?
There is Marquez, there is Pedrosa, there is Morbidelli, there is Luthi, there is Cal, and there is Taka Nakagamis.
So
Yep.
it's
3 full
almost,
teams.
it's almost the 80-20 rule.
Again, it's all from
yeah,
from
one
a
to
percentage
6.
of
1 to 6.
what are you going to do if you are HRC when 20% of your riders are achieving 80% of your results? You maximize that rider's ability to win because Marquez, Rob brings up a point. What, like, they put all their effort. What if he leaves? Bro, dude ain't leaving.
No.
If he was going to leave, he would have already left.
No,
Marquez could have gone to Ducati. He could have chased massive money from Red Bull. He is not leaving. He's never leaving because he is Soriano's law personified beyond. He isn't simply an HRC Repsol rider. He is Repsol itself.
Repsol HRC, yeah.
He is. He's like Ultron of Repsol. He has appeared out of nowhere and then congealed. He has an infinity stone stuck up his butt, and he is unable to crash and get hurt. The fucking dude has the power stone jammed up his booty crack, and he will not lose as long as he has that. And it's going to take a motherfucking Thanos to come up here and rip that shit out. Is Jorge Thanos? I don't know. Snap a finger, Jorge. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it truly is the 80-20 law there because he's the only person you pay attention to out of all. I mean, Cal's gotten the wins. He's kind of an afterthought. He's having to override. I mean, I wonder if they need to move the tank 20 millimeters back for him or something. But I mean,
if you want a good example of what I'm talking about when it comes to Marquez and Repsol and HRC, as an article it came out. You could find it on Reddit on the top of the page or whatever. And it was 3 architects, the grandfather of Marc Marquez's RC213. They didn't refer to it as HRC. They didn't refer to it as Repsol. They didn't refer to it as Honda. They referred to it as Marquez's. That bike is for Marquez and Marquez only. Everyone else is just simply there to help fill in any gaps they're looking for. The only rider that matters is Marc Marquez. Danny Pedrosa is a nice, happy-go-lucky kid that everyone loves, outside of America at least. And he sells just enough fucking, plain-ass looking bottles of green oil, and he's good to go.
Yeah, I mean, and they're probably stoked that they're getting rid of 2 bikes on the grid next year because if Mark VDS loses their spot, Petronas takes the satellite Yamahas. There's only 4 Hondas on the grid next year.
Right. So then they put that money into making Marc Marquez's ability to ride even more. They don't need to worry about that. He crashes 4 times a race. Currently is not a problem, nor has it ever been a problem.
Totally acceptable.
It's acceptable losses.
That's how you find the limit. That's how you win championships.
Right, like Everett, for example, if you're a salesman and you sell green widgets and you need to invest a certain amount of money to sell blue widgets, but blue widgets don't give you enough return to warrant it if you were to reinvest your money in your green widgets.
God damn, Business Kev is representing.
You like this shit?
Focus on what you're good at, and Don't
Kill Gates,
around.
son.
Don't take them gambles.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's move on to the other very important crash of the GP race. Dovizioso managed to crash this one in turn 5, and it wasn't really. It seemed like it was a very surprising crash. He was a little wide on entry, but he crashed very early in the corner. Obviously, he was on the brakes trying to increase that front grip, and he goes down. Now, because Jorge won, they are tied with each other in the championship with 66 points.
How fucking salty is
right?
that?
100. Marquez has 150. They're 49 points behind, almost 2 race wins behind Marquez at this point.
So I wanted to get to this earlier in the episode. What's the over/under that Jorge could be an actual contender this year?
It's poor. It's poor.
What do you mean? 49 points?
49 points.
That's 49
points.
That's 2 DNFs from Marquez, which is totally realistic. I think.
Yes, but it's gonna rain and. It's going to rain, and Jorge's going to DNF, so you can't just assume that Marquez will have 2 more.
It hasn't rained
and the chances,
yet, has it?
The chances
Is it gonna rain?
Argentina was mixed conditions.
Mixed, but that was not pure rain. That's
no.
All
I mean, and that is favoring Jorge this year compared to last year. Last year, every single round except for Silverstone was impacted by rain in some way. This year we've had Argentina, and that's about it.
Clearly, Jesus loves Jorge.
This year,
this year, not in past. And it's not going to rain, 1, and then 2. Jorge is going to be a title contender down to the wire of Valencia, and it's going to be fucking cool.
Okay, so say Marquez has one extra DNF to get it. He's got to make up 25 points, which means he needs
5
to
races.
win 5 more races than Marquez, with Marquez in second or Marquez in third a couple of times.
We're not even in Czech Republic, dude.
It's motorcycle racing. Anything is possible. It's totally possible.
We're talking about this, and obviously this is not, but to your point, Kev and Rob, about your knee getting messed up or something happening, all you need is some little thing where he's out for a round or two, and everyone's back in. And that's what's really crazy about the championship this year, is that there's so many people right on his heels if he does slip up. I mean, all the rest of the pack are like right there together, right? Vinales, Rossi, Dovi, and
it's like the top. That's like second through fifth are separated by 9 points.
Yeah, they're right there.
Thing, you know what I mean? Yeah. I want to bring it back to Dovi for a second, because I have a take on Dovi I think is a little bit different. Dovi has mind fucked himself by becoming competitive. Last year,
it's the Jack Miller effect.
Yeah. Yes. Last year, Dovi was not expected to win ever. There was never pressure. There was every single time was fuck, he won. Awesome. And if he doesn't, well, it is what it is. Like, just that he was in contention is great. This year, he's expected to win. This year, he's expected to fight for the title. This year, his ability to win and take it to Marquez is supposedly a foregone conclusion, which means he has way more pressure on his shoulder. Earlier this year, I didn't do very good at a relatively prestigious tournament in jiu-jitsu, and I was like, oh, man, I was just like way more nervous than usual. And one of my coaches, Wolf, said the reason you are more nervous than usual is because you knew you could win.
You were supposed to win.
Versus the previous year, I didn't think I could. I ended up doing very well. It was nice.
You have a coach named Wolf? Your coach is named Wolf.
It's his real name.
That's badass.
Holy shit. That's Rob, fucking and he teaches jiu-jitsu. That's fucking badass.
Rob, I got a question for you.
If you really want to know.
Hold on, Rob. Have you ever crashed out of first place?
Yeah.
I have too. And that's the same thing he's talking about. It's a fucked up thing.
Right, it's like the old
stupid mistake too.
The number one plate is heavy, right? The idea that Dovi has never really been a title contender for a variety of reasons. He was able to win on the Repsol Honda. He did get some wins on the Ducati, but he never was the guy who was expected to carry the weight of a factory, right? Like the crown is heavy, you know what I mean? Repeating championships is very rare because that crown is so heavy. Repeatedly defending or repeatedly challenging for title is very hard. Look at Dani Pedrosa, 2012. He wins 7 races and barely loses it and then disappears again. Look, you can find these examples of guys having flashed in the pan. Look, I mean, Nicky Hayden, God rest his soul, he wins the championship, and then he is in 2007, 8, 9, for a variety of reasons, both himself and technical, unable to challenge. You see this over and over again. Ben Bostrom wins the AMA championship, and then he's never really in it again. The expectation of being the best in the world is a fucking mindfuck.
Well, and you look at like even George with his resurgence at Ducati, right? I mean, that guy clearly has the mentality of a champion, understands what it takes to compete at that level over and over, year after year. He comes to the Ducati, is just beaten to shit, and then still is coming back. That's what's really interesting to see, that his mind is still in it.
No, because I disagree. It completely feeds into exactly what Kev is saying. Because last year Jorge had that pressure of 12 million euros a year and did absolutely nothing. It took the pressure off of Dovizioso. Now we come into this year, right? And Dovizioso has all the pressure because of his performance last year. There's less pressure on Jorge. Right, both these riders
knew he was leaving.
Jorge knew he was leaving, and no one else knew. Right, like he had secretly contacted Alberto Puig. That whole thing about like the reason no one knew about rumors because it happened like over the course of like less than 2 weeks. But he knew he wasn't coming back, so the weight of pressure is lifted, and suddenly he starts winning.
This should be Kev. You're going back to school. You're getting your PhD. You're writing a thesis. This is going to be Soriano's law, the real one.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
The timing with Jorge works out perfectly because he told us that he was talking to HRC at Le Mans, and then he wins the 2 races after that. It's ridiculous.
We always
Right,
knew
the
you were the
moment
smartest
he
guy on
knows.
the podcast, Rob. Thanks, man.
What'd you say?
I said we always knew you were the smartest guy on the podcast. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I mean, the weight is off. And for me, Dovi, and I love, I'm a big fan of Dovi, but he goes from never making a mistake. He goes from capitalizing on Marquez in multiple last lap, last turn battles to making, mistakes. Again, he said he made a mistake trying to keep with Jorge's pace. He makes a mistake after he passes Jorge rounds earlier. The guy is mind fucked himself, because once you know you can win, anything else is unacceptable.
Now you got me thinking who's prone to having this apply to them, and I'm thinking, who can I think of? And I think of this guy named Maverick, and I go, well, fuck, where the fuck is he? Like, the pressure's off him because no one expects shit out of that guy now.
Right, but he's still in the downward phase, right? So the Soriano's law version,
he's got a sign.
0.2, signing is like an inverted bell curve, right? And he's still on the low end of it.
We were inverted math.
It's an inverted bell curve. So Maverick is still in the goose is dead phase, right? Like, he'll fire when he's good, goddamn ready. You know what I mean? That's where Maverick is right now. That's where Jorge was last year. And then Jorge goes and talks to Tom Skerritt behind a barn, and they're drinking beers, and Jorge finds out his dad, went out fighting a bunch of bull tacos on a Ducati, and, he's actually a goddamn hero. And so, but Maverick is still in the goose is dead phase, and he can't remember, he's still thinking of the good old days when he could win. He hasn't, he gets a bad tire, doesn't work for him, and suddenly he's gone, and he's totally mind-fucked. It's the same thing. I mean, hashtag goose phase. That's just where he's at.
So let's talk about that. I'm glad you brought it up. Michelin is getting a lot of flack, especially for Catalunya, for inconsistent tires. Right? We've known about this problem for a while. I think we found out that Carl Abraham, tested the Michelins before they were actually in GP, and said that they were having quality control problems, right? He'd get on one tire and he'd be brilliant. He'd get on another tire and there'd be no feeling, which, feeling as a concrete word is weird. But Maverick said that about Mugello, and that he was crashing every single corner. Here in Catalunya, he has more lackluster results, and it's just not there.
So the problem with, you said a perfect example, is that feeling is not concrete, or it's not quantifiable. It can't quantify the feeling. Like, you can quantify if you run out of gas. You can quantify if your electronics are not working, or a cylinder is fired incorrectly, or whatever. You can't quantify this tire doesn't feel good. The problem with that lack of ability to narrow it down to a measurable metric is that if your heart's not in it, there's your excuse. If you're simply not inspired about fighting tooth and nail for sixth, because the only time it's quantifiable is when you're Pecco Bagnaia and you have a fist-sized hole in the back of your tire and you post it to Instagram. There it is. There's why you have bad vibration, because there's a fucking hole that I can put my foot in. You know what I mean? Like, that's quantifiable. But for Maverick or for other riders to simply say, I'm not saying he's wrong, but what I'm saying is it's a slippery slope, because the moment you sort of admit that and say it and put it out in the universe, you give yourself an out if you're not willing to fight for something that doesn't seem worth it.
Well, and even more so, like, there may actually be a problem with Michelin tires, but they race on them, right? The tires are used up at the end of the race. How do you compare the new grip of the tire when it's fucking used to something else? Like, I'm sure Michelin has machines where they can test the grip of a tire, but they can't do it when it's got 25 race laps on it and expect consistent results. It can't tell them anything good.
Well, and they make these batches, though, right? So there's going to be anomalies, and there's going to be and remember the first year they came in, there was all sorts of problems and chunking.
Yeah, and those were kind of attributed to the riders and the bikes kind of being set up for Bridgestone.
Right.
And then we talk about peak frame in 2016, right? All the 2016 bikes were the chassis manufacturer's first attempt at making a Michelin bike. and yet somehow they haven't been able to improve on it. You think that they would be better 2017 and, diminishing returns a little bit better 2018. But here we find out that a half Bridgestone, half Michelin chassis is the best thing for Michelin's. My mind is fucking blown.
Here's the thing that we find out. If we're talking about peak frame and how the effort put into fixing the frame is 80% of your effort to get 20% of your results inverted, look at the teams who are doing well and improving. You're looking at Honda, the team who has accepted front-end slides and crashes as a normal part of it. And then you look at Ducati, the team that used a specialized type of software to optimize traction control prediction, right? They're the two teams who are doing the best who have accepted bad tires. They've accepted this as part of the track, and we're the part of the situation and the variables that we have, and we will simply work to nullify that. Instead of trying to get more grip, they're working around the idea. They never try to get Marc Marquez more front-end grip because they know he is particularly good at saving, and we're going to work around the other stuff. We know that he's going to save the front. We know he's going to push the front and crash 3 times, 4 times a weekend and find that limit, and then he will know. You look at Ducati and their ability to use a particular type of software to predict and work around the lack of traction. They're not trying to force it. Yamaha, on the other hand, seem to be going in circles with, again, the same problem. And then Suzuki, they've come back to form because of concessions. It's a totally different situation.
Other pieces, this track was repaved, right?
Right.
So all the test data and all the tire data and all that, it was a little bit of a guessing game. So maybe you'll give him an out on that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but Maverick did better here than he did at Mugello, and he finished the race 10 seconds back. Like, the funny thing is, right, we bring up the electronics, we bring up committing to the shitty tires, and Maverick seems to be better at the end of the race comparatively to other people. He always seems to come back a little bit.
Kev's got the answer on Mav's problems. We already know what those problems are. They haven't been addressed. I haven't really followed. I took him off my Instagram, so I don't really know. We know his problems.
I can't follow any of the GP riders because of fucking spoilers.
They're the worst.
Sorry,
and Kevin, you know what I'm saying. He needs a new piece, man.
He does. He needs a new dime piece, no doubt.
That current piece is not making it work.
No.
It's not a pro motorcycle motocross racer.
Apparently.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not working. I mean, Mav needs 2 things, but he needs that. And the Mav needs to accept. Imagine being, and this is the Dovi problem. Imagine being someone expected to fight for a title and think in your heart of hearts that you can win the MotoGP World Championship, and now you have to know that you can't. This is Kenny Roberts Jr. in 2005 riding the Suzuki, who's a former champion who beat Valentino, who did very well, who's like, look, I'm not going to kill myself to get 7th. I'm just not.
I'm just not
going to do it, right? But the moment you accept that, you cease to improve, because the only, if trial and error is how you get better, by nature of trial and error, you have to make many errors.
And he's tested his.
Yeah,
that is Dovi for sure. Maverick has tested his childbearing hip airbag suit too many times.
Yes, too many times.
Who else do we have in that falls in that category? That's
childbearing airbag suit.
No, the I thought I had it. I really don't. I've settled in, and then I rose, and then had success. Whether you actually got to the championship or not, it's interesting.
So the Danny Pedrosa sort of, I'm sorry,
several.
No, not Danny Pedrosa. The Andrea Dovizioso sort of just accept it, keep going, just chug along. There's no one else that's really been at a factory for that long and slowly rose to results. Maybe Cal.
Maybe Stoner. After his first year.
No, because he got the results the first year and then got. But he got worse. He got worse and worse. Like, after the first year, he just switched teams. There was a catalyst for him getting amazing results, and then after that, he got worse. It's not the Andre Dovizioso at all. Like, Dovi was at Repsol and was mediocre,
he was on the GV HRC, and then he crashed his brains out, and then
was it GV back then?
Yeah,
it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't GG. It was Preziosi.
No.
No, GV.
No,
GV
the sponsor.
he was on the Grassini team. Remember, he came into GP on the Grassini team. Was the
No,
most crash
Casey
rider.
Stoner came into GP on the LCR Honda
Or
team.
LCR,
Luca Cesare as their first year. He scored
Petronas.
pole. You know,
What
he
was
did
the
well.
sponsor? Well, it wasn't Konica
It was
Minolta.
GV. GV windscreens.
GV doesn't. Do they?
It was a
they
weird
make
multi.
top cases.
Yeah, I'm not sure offhand.
Oh,
It wasn't
you're
GV
right.
though.
They make top cases, yeah.
We're getting a little off track.
Anyway, I'm just
my
thinking
point
of that.
being my point being for Dovi is that Dovi is a bit mind fucked in the sense that he has the weight of expectation. Like potential, it has killed more careers than anything else, right? Like,
but that's,
you know,
that's supposed to happen.
You look at all sports and you see how often the first-round draft picks actually play out. Very rarely. In fact, if you actually look at most NFL teams, you would be better off doing the Belichick system of trading down and pulling in 10 second-round draft picks because the quantitative results of those 10 second-round draft picks will be better than the 2 first-round draft picks. Like, you never want the first-round one. There's a variety of things. The return ratio isn't there, but also that the weight of expectation is too large for many people. I mean, Matt, we had it, right? I said famously, Maverick's going to win 9 races. He's going to win a championship, blah, blah, blah. He wins 3 out of the first 5. One thing changes. It drops. He simply cannot recover. We're talking about a guy who is a multiple win. He's won races on more than one bike. That's actually a stat that's not that common.
Right.
You know what I mean? He has won races on multiple bikes and inferior bikes, and yet that has happened. Dovizioso wins Qatar and seems to be, okay, here it is, and now it's mistake after mistake, and then suddenly Jorge is doing well. It's the inverse. Jorge's expected to win. Why can't I win? I can't get this thing going, but my teammate right next to me is winning a grip of races. Now Dovi is looking at the same thing, saying, fuck, I keep making mistakes where this guy doesn't make a single mistake.
I think it's a fascinating topic we've kind of stumbled on through this episode, but I think it's a really fascinating concept, the mental part of it all.
So last point then about Dovizioso. Now that Jorge has won 2 races, does that take pressure off of him or does it make it worse?
God, it could go either way. Yeah, it goes up. It's like he's got to increase his teammate, right? His teammate, and he's like, I got to try harder to keep up.
He's been talking shit about Jorge and sweet backhanded compliments or fronthand insults all fucking winter, right? And now
true
Jorge is
BrotoGP
putting
format.
it on. You know what I mean? Like, it's the other way around. I think, Rob, to answer your question, I think Jorge winning makes it go up because Jorge, before it was like, fuck that guy getting paid $12 million. I'm getting paid peanuts and I'm carrying this team. I'm the guy, and then what happens is he's the salesman who is bringing in all the leads, making all the sales, getting all the coffee because coffee's for closers. They bumped him up to junior vice president, and he goes into a slump.
Yep, that's exactly what happened. And and the next round is going to be quite crucial because they're tied in points, right? So there will be definitive proof that one of them is better than the other one after this next round. And if Dovizioso loses, he is technically behind right now because
by virtue of more wins.
Correct. Jorge has 2 wins. So he really needs more points than Jorge in Acid, which is coming up in a couple of days.
It's such a shitty spot for Dovi. I haven't heard junior vice president in a long time, man. I don't even know if a junior vice president exists. But
that's the shit right there.
Kev, your fucking fingers pose, it froze for like 5 seconds. Like you were just there. You were just there. Oh man. All right, no, let's all right, Ev, last point.
It's just crazy for Dovi knowing that he's trying to secure his ride again and again and get paid more and get what he deserves. Yet the circumstance is just so fucked up. And then Jorge is leaving. So to your point, there's no pressure on him. So he's like, I'm out and I'm going to keep winning. Fuck it. It's a losing proposition for Dovi. And it's just, wow, what a mind fuck.
We've seen that out of a bunch of riders, right? When they're well, we've seen both sides. When they
here's the
want
thing.
to, oh no, let me finish
Okay.
this one. When they want to, like, when there are certain riders that when they approach like contract time, their results increase, and the second they sign, they fall off. There are other riders that their results are shit until they sign the contract, then their results come back. Right, so it's like Bradley Smith, same thing. He was like stressing over the contract, and Tech 3 decided, all right, we'll get that out of the way. We'll keep him for another 2 year or another year, and then his results perked up a little bit. Dovizioso, he signs, he gets the guaranteed paycheck for next year. Like, it's probably not that performance based, right? We know Dani Pedrosa's contract at HRC is like he will get so much more money if he wins a bunch of races compared to his base salary. Dovi's getting a huge base salary probably because he was a title contender last year.
Yeah,
and that's what Jorge got.
You should.
Yeah. So it goes both ways.
Yeah, title of Rob Sextape. So one thing you've noticed that I've been hitting on this episode and just talking in general is like the mental state. I've talked about training. I've talked about 80-20. I've talked about, flow state. So we talk about Maverick. We talk about Dovi's drop in results. We talk about Jorge's increase in results. And one thing we talk about, that you hear the common trope in sports, right? Like Rob races and climbs. I do jiu-jitsu. Everett plays hockey. He raced for many years. He was a pretty darn decent SV650 rider. I was a terrible racer. Never was good at anything like that. But I climbed to 513 and I won some jiu-jitsu championships. So, is that sports? If you talk to most people, you hear the common trope, it's 90% mental, 10% physical. It's obviously not that out of balance, but it is more mental than physical, yet you rarely see any emphasis on the mental training. You rarely see any emphasis on improving the mental acuity of these riders to improve their ability. Like we said this, like if racing or if sports are 90% mental and Jorge's telling someone I need this to be comfortable, to be mentally good, and they're saying no, fucking ride it. Or you're seeing Maverick's results drop significantly while other riders' results who switched, the other Valentino Rossi's results, while they dropped, did not drop nearly as significantly. He did win Assen last year, and he's not lucked his way, but he's quietly worked his way into some podiums. He's a veteran. He's more mentally strong. Valentino trains himself against the young up-and-comer Italians. He ain't just training them. He's training himself. He's keeping himself young. And the idea that at some point the sport needs to, especially since we've reached peak frame, that the best way to improve your riders and improve your results is not just a mental coach like fucking Tony Robbins, shallow how bullshit, but really figure out how to maximize these guys' ability to perform at their best. And I've randomly thrown out some principles today, but my final comment on the Dovi stuff is that Ducati, if they want to continue to move on, need to do something to put him in a more mentally strong place than he is right now. Because mistakes yield mistakes.
Yeah. I suspect that the reason we don't hear much about it isn't because it's not happening. It's just because it's not one of those things that they're willing to publish. Yeah. I've been hanging out with Garrett Willis in Moto America. He's helping out riders like quite a bit. He is now like he used to be factory Honda and AMA for 600, or actually no, I'm not sure. Very very good racer, but not currently racing. He's now a rider coach, and for the pros, right? He's not coaching them on technique. Like, they know how to fucking ride the motorcycle. He's coaching them on everything that you've just discussed. He's coaching them on like if like he asks them like what they expect from the race, and they say, oh, like a podium would be nice. He's like, fuck no, you're gonna win this race. Like, tell me that you're going to win this race, right? It's the mental game for the pro riders. Like, if he was to help me, it wouldn't be that mental game. It'd be the technique stuff, because I'm not yet at that championship winning level with skill. Well, right? It'd be both for me, but for for someone like Garrett Gerloff, like he would be coaching them on the mental game because they already know how to ride the bike.
Well, and I mean, and at the pro level, it's a much different thing, right? Drowning out distractions, having a level of preparation, diet, health, focus. I mean, it's. I mean, you look at George doing those metronomic laps. That doesn't just come because of natural talent. I mean, that's intense focus, and that takes training and a lot of hard work to be able to do that. You look at Cam and the last weekend too, which we'll get to in the next episode. But I mean, he was just so on pace. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's not about telling your rider that, no, don't tell me you can only get a podium, you're going to win. That's wrong, and I would love to talk to this guy about more because it's not really about that. You shouldn't have to tell your rider or your athlete that they're going to win.
Yeah.
You should be able to have them mentally convince themselves. A good example of this is in UFC. A lot of people know about George St. Pierre. I'm not going to go off the rails too much. Stick with it for a second. He had a serious bout of colitis before his big fight. He was very down in the dumps. He trains at a gym called TriStar, Barista Hobby. One of the things he did to build GSPs up is there were multiple sparring partners who there was a sign which was, you cannot hit George, except George doesn't know. So George would be at the end of a long training session. He's getting beat up. He's barely hanging in there. He'd put a fresh young gun in. The young gun has a secret has a job which he knows is that I have to throw bad punches or telegraph to make George feel as if he is able to read better, that his takedowns are crisper than they actually are, that he had training partners that were in there specifically designed to lose. Now, you don't do that. Yes, no, you don't do that.
I mean, it's training against some heavyweights.
Right. You don't do that when you are fighting full contact like fight simulations. You spar for an hour and a half, and then the last couple rounds are with fresh guys where he's obviously going to make mistakes. It's not about being perfectly crisp in the moment. It's about just getting your final reps in, and it's maintaining your ability, except George never knew that. In fact, George was under the impression that multiple fighters had a bounty on his head, that they were in there to intentionally hurt him. So you have to lie, to your guy in a way that builds him up to feel invincible. George does, like Everett said, George doesn't run metronomic laps because he has some weird innate talent. That is a cultivated talent that he needs to believe in himself and is an ability to do, right? It's like, Rob, if you're trying to send a 514, that's confidence, bro. You're not any better or worse than your 513 when you're climbing. Your pinch strength or your sloper strength isn't that much better. It's your knowledge that fucking grip will stay.
Yeah. No, I think I just kind of failed at expressing that exact thing, right? The coaching is about getting the rider to mentally unmindfuck themselves, right? To get them to believe. It's not about just telling them. I mean, I'm sure that works for some people, right? You tell them that this is possible and they believe you right away. But I'm sure a lot of other people, they have to convince themselves.
And if I haven't convinced any writer out there that you should hire me as a writer coach with this episode, trust me, I'm going to convince you.
Kev, you can be my mental writer coach.
I can do it.
You're hired. You're
On
hired.
that note, Kev,
Let me sell some more T-shirts.
I did see GSP fight BJ Penn 2 in Vegas.
Nice. In person?
In person.
Fuck. That's legendary.
All right, so Kev, you already brought it up. I think
a good point. Hold on, to go back to that. In that fight, he did even better than the first fight because he now had the confidence that he knew he could adapt and change. It's the same thing. Why did Jorge look even more dominant in this round than the last one? Because he had built it.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's true. That's
all right,
true.
Rob. I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, so you already brought up Valentino Rossi bagging 3 podiums in a row. And to me, this is exactly what we've been talking about, right? It's Maverick has mind-fucked himself. Rossi has slowly built up the results. He's not allowed his spirits to get low, and he's able to put himself in the right position to bag those podiums, right? It's 2 completely opposite approaches on the same motorcycle with arguably the same tires, because Michelin may have inconsistent tires, and very different results.
Yeah, I mean, Maverick basically is an incel right now. He's convinced that he can only hook up with a 10 chick, right? He's not willing to get the 7 or the 8. Whereas Rossi's like, I'm just going to keep hitting 7s. It's all good. A 7 is
All
solid.
day.
Most guys would kill for a 7. Most guys are married to a 7. A 7 is solid. You bring your 7 home to your mom, and she's just such a nice girl. Maverick's trying to kill fucking 10s and 9.5s. Just go for 7.5, 8s.
Kev,
That's all.
are we going hot crazy matrix?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, crazy. No, other way around. Like, he's so convinced on getting that win instead of just chasing that third. You build to the win.
There ain't no unicorns, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, yeah. But that's Maverick's side of things, and then Rossi is the flip side of the coin. He's got the 7s. Except for the fact that his new female friend has been around the paddock, and she is blatantly not a 7.
Bro.
Right.
But we don't need to go sexist.
Not going to go
this
too
episode.
far into that.
He's Rossi.
Yeah.
He's not going to be that mentally weak. He's got too many championships, done that too many times.
Right.
And he's doing his thing, so his pressure is always going to be there, and he's still doing his thing.
He has the benefit of reinventing himself multiple times. His career is reinventing himself. Right? Think about the length of Rossi's career. He wins on 500 cc's, then he goes to a factory team, then he wins on 990s, then he jumps to Yamaha, then he wins, then he loses to Hayden, loses to Stoner, reinvents himself by moving to Bridgestones, and then he goes to Ducati, does terrible, and then he has 2013, it's abysmal. He makes a joke with his helmet about being 4th place behind the top 3. He finally gets his win, then he gets multiple seconds. His whole carear is reinventing himself. He's used to this shit.
It's so fucking badass, but it's like, god damn.
This is just another day in the office.
Yeah.
He's convinced us that he's the underdog while also not being the underdog, and and just being able to get all those results and have the mental fortitude to keep it going the entire time.
Right. He knows that winning the 10th title would be the greatest moment in GP history, and yet for some reason he's cool. He's like the underdog and isn't letting that press down on him.
Yeah.
It would be the greatest moment in sporting history.
Sporting history.
God
dang.
I mean, GP is now, at least modern sport, like GP now has it at least when I watch the races, it has surpassed that other series that shall not be named that has 4 wheels.
Boo.
What has 4 wheels? I mean, we only talk about 2 wheels.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, right? No, we're not even talking about it. I can go off on that. No, we're not going to. No, I mean, yeah, Rossi is just he can slide into those podiums. He slides into the DMs with those podiums.
Yeah.
Rossi's sliding into the DMs.
And but that's the thing, he's convinced us that that he doesn't that he was like a slightly gifted, right? Like 10% lucky to get them, but we know that he's putting in crazy hard amounts of effort to get those, and then he's super happy when it happens. It's like, I'm not going to expect him to be on the box next round, which makes it even more sweet when he does actually accomplish it.
And more probable that he will be, right? To the conversation we've been having. It's like there's no pressure.
Yeah, because it took the pressure off.
Right, so there's a conceptual difference here. When Maverick gets a podium, it's like, oh God, But when Rossi, because it's not a win, he's not where he thinks. Rossi gets a win and it's a relief. Maverick gets a podium, it's the expectation. Right, that's Dovi's
podium.
Right, that's Dovizioso's problem. Right, a podium isn't good enough. He got the podium earlier this year and was upset that he didn't get the win. I thought I wanted more. He wasn't just happy with the podium when. Literally 18 months ago, just getting second places was solid on the Ducati, right? Now suddenly anything less than a victory is unacceptable and is only adding weight to the shoulders. Whereas every time Rossi gets the podium, he just he's feeling like a pimp and he goes and brushes his shoulders off.
That bike and that team have surely just done such a tremendous job in the last few years. It's pretty remarkable when you think about it.
Ducati, you're talking about Ducati.
Yeah.
No, their eyebrow GG has transformed Ducati into what a GP team and a GP factory should actually be.
And the sub factory, the pseudo factories, right? The satellites, right? I mean, they're just they're just contenders all around. It's just pretty awesome.
Yeah, because they do exactly what HRC wasn't willing to do. They share the data. They share the parts. Like when you get a Euro Ducati and you know you've got all the data from the factory riders the previous year, your setup will likely be better than the factory riders had at that round the previous year. And you're like, you just ride it and it's fucking amazing. It also helps that their trap speeds are phenomenal.
You just ride it and it's fucking amazing. Title Rob Sexy.
There we go.
I couldn't get to it. You were ready for it. Hey, wait, real quick. What's up with that shirt? What's up with that shirt you're wearing?
We'll get to the shirts in a little bit. Let's do some more voicemails. Some more voicemails. So if you're watching on the video, our audio, I haven't fully found a technical solution for this, so I have to take my microphone off and put it in my earphone so that these two guys can hear the voicemail.
Yeah.
But we're gonna do another one.
I don't have sex tape. I don't know. That's weird. But...
Ow! Ow! They're defending themselves somehow.
Straight up Stone Cold lock right now. Obscure Simpsons quotes from the fucking 4th to 8th season gets you on the show. There is no other thing that guarantees you on the show unless you are fucking referencing Texas tea, white, gold, sweetener, or something.
4th to 8th seasons. So specific on your Simpsons needs.
No, it must be. No, that was the golden years.
Like,
the 4th to the 8th season of The Simpsons is the 5 greatest seasons. Season 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are the 5 greatest seasons of television in history.
Pretty much.
So
if you don't know, I mean, really, you should type in pause the video right now, type in that quote to Google, and watch what we're talking about. But if not, I'm going to tell you right now. Homer Simpson. Yeah, Homer Simpson selling sugar, got a huge pile of sugar, selling sugar. He's talking about bees. Fucking bees? Right. What?
Yeah.
All right, no, moving on. That one was good. Let's go for a serious question. This is Bob from Denver.
Hey, BrotoGP, this is Bob from Denver. I want to know, what's your ultimate fantasy team? What 2 riders would you place on any team? Personally, I'd like to see Andre Iannone and Scott Redding at Honda. Curious what you guys think. Thanks.
That sounds like a disaster in the making, but...
All right, Robert. Robert from Colorado brings up a fun point.
No, Bob from Denver.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Ev.
I just see the clash of those personalities being in traditional, very conservative HRC, and it's just been a complete shit show.
That's probably why Bob from Denver picked it, because it's you've got a hurricane and a tornado landing on Salt Lake City, Utah, right at the same exact time. Or just pick a conservative city in fucking New Mexico or something, right? That's what it is.
I won't lie, it sounds exciting.
That sounds exciting. But no, Bob from Denver wants to know what your picks are. So we're gonna put you on the spot first, Ev. Go.
Oh, fudge. I would really like
silence.
I'm just thinking. I would really like to see the young up and comers on the quality bikes. I would like to see Franco on the HRC, and I'm an HRC guy, so we'll just keep that theme going. Franco, maybe one of the kids in Moto 2 come up. Maybe like Mir or something like that. Oliveira, that would be phenomenal. Or maybe
on which bike?
Both on HRC.
Both on HRC.
The team. I'm keeping it team, right? The same bike for both riders. So
yeah, no, of course. Kev, what do you got?
I would have loved to see Marc Marquez on the Ducati. And I said this a million times. It would have been amazing. I think he could have brought them a championship, which would have been amazing. I think it would have put him up, obviously, on the. He would have maintained the hero status as opposed to the villain status. Wow. If Andre Iannone was his teammate, that'd have been fucking amazing, because he's like, Marc Marquez is the biggest corporate fake, manufactured stooge out there with the most perfectly manufactured and groomed personality. And then Andre Iannone is like so insane that the, most of the English media seems to be running a specific hit job smear campaign on him. You know what I mean? I mean, I can go down the list. Like, I like whatever it says. You know, you could say that you could almost
No,
say,
no list. No
Okay.
list. No list.
well,
no.
that's one.
Yeah.
You know,
One
for
more.
sure.
Fine. One more team then. You can do one more team.
One more team. I always wish when I would have loved to see Dani Pedrosa on the factory Yamaha.
That would have been cool. Yeah.
I would have loved to see that. Doesn't look like it's ever going to happen. Even if he does this Petronas thing, it's not the same. I would have loved to see Rossi,
Who's his teammate?
Rossi and Dani working together to take down the Dornagorgon. I mean, 2013, he wins the championship. He's the rookie. He's the next one. And then 2014, he wins like 12 races. And they realize that not unlike Captain Planet, they have to combine their powers to save the world from the deluge of sludge that is Repsol, because they are oil and poisoning the planet. And I would have loved to see Dani Pedrosa and Valentino Rossi on the Yamaha working together, no wall up, just sharing data left and right. You know, just a couple of guys, you know, traveling the world. Just a couple of guys traveling the world, racing bikes, you know, wearing skin-tight leathers, doing their thing. It's just, you know, it's cool. It's all good.
They're totally bros, too, because after Dani beat Rossi to, I think, second place at Aragon a few years ago in a great battle, right? They just broed down. They're like no hard, like nothing. If it was Jorge beating Rossi or whatever, it would have been standoffish. No, Dani and Rossi bro down.
Good racing.
It was great racing. All right,
Dani would never hook up with your ex, while Marquez fucking stalked her on Instagram and liked like 2-year-old pics just to let her know he was lurking, right? Because he's that fucking scheming. He would fucking
He's straight Mr. Steal Your Girlfriend.
It's all I'm saying, right? He's Mr. Steal Your Girlfriend, right? Exactly. Well, Valentino, like Dani Pedrosa, he's a real friend. Marquez fucking stabbed you straight in the back, son.
On that note,
hold on.
Quick,
Nope. We got to move on. We're running out of time here. My pick is Marquez and Rossi on the new Ducati. Because I agree with you, Kev, about seeing that Marquez on the Ducati, and I want to see Rossi have another shot at it. I want to have that comparison of like, all right, Jorge won 2 races on it, Dovizioso won 6 or 7, and I know that Rossi could do it as well.
I actually am going to change mine to that, because what I really want to see is that Rossi, all of the mechanics for Italy actually hate Marquez, and Rossi gets them to sabotage him constantly, just like he did to Ben Spies, to get Ben Spies to voluntarily leave so he could swoop back in. I want to see Valentino with Marquez on Ducati so Valentino can Ben Spies up Marquez's team.
That's awesome, up, dude. That's
awesome.
Dude, you've been watching a lot of fucking X-Files, bro? Dude, all right, real quick. I love the new logo on the Facebook fan page, the BrotoGP Army page that has the Stranger Things. Oh, dude, I'm making that. I'm going rogue. I'm making that, dude.
There are many shirt on that?
There are many people going rogue with shirt designs, which I both think is cool. But if you're gonna go rogue with your shirt design and make your own, please buy the existing ones we also make, please.
Well, no, I'm gonna make the prototype.
I mean, to be fair, the shirt that is just above Kevin's head is a Gone Rogue that we never actually produced. It's the MV Augusta design.
And ironically, Dennis, who has an MV, I don't think still has one.
Yeah, no, he doesn't have. No, you made 2. You made one for Kevin and one for yourself. I don't have one. Yeah. No, Will, there's a chance. There's a chance. All right. No, we're moving on. So this is okay. So there is a backstory to this next comment. Josh Heron, who is an avid listener, decided that
the people's champ. The people's champ.
Very true. He decided that he was going to block us on social media. Just like I'm absolutely certain, absolutely no hard feelings or anything. Not like other writers blocking us. He just did it for the laughs. He blocked us on social media. Then he posted our voicemail phone number in his Instagram stories and asked everyone to leave us a voicemail. There were quite a few that there is no way in hell you were going to listen to them because it's just they violated 6 of the rules.
Right.
But
we
this
only have 4 rules and they somehow violated 6.
Those are like 6 of the 10 commandments they violated. Let's be real.
Yeah, right? So this one stood out for a little bit. We will get to some of the other ones for sure in later episodes. I'm gonna put them in a folder in the voicemail and just keep them. But here's a good one.
I just wanted to say that Josh Heron impregnated my girlfriend simply by winking at her. Also, his nuts are the size of watermelons.
Dude, how does he even get on the bike?
That's it. What? What?
How
does he get on the bike with
watermelon-sized nuts?
And not only get on the bike, but he can do like 47 race laps 2 days in a row. I have no idea. I have no idea. I should have had a picture of.
He must tuck his nuts back, and then that gives him the weighting in the back to make sure that the weighting's on the back tire getting out of turns. I don't know.
You think that's what it is? Hold on.
I don't know.
I gotta download this photo of him real fast and put it up here for us.
Yeah, Josh Heron is the Stone Cold Steve Austin of Moto America, of motorcycle racing in general. I mean,
yeah, here I got 2 photos of Josh Heron. So we got the one of him going across the Golden Gate Bridge and doing fucking burnouts with the essentially showing the world superbike riders how to have some fun.
Right.
That was the story of the pre-event Laguna Seca weekend.
It was ridiculously awesome because that's what motorsports and motorcycle racing is all about, is being just kind of a hooligan, and he embodied it and showed those guys and got out of the norm. And I wish more guys were doing that.
Like, Ray is the least fun guy ever. Like, he's so non-fun. Like last year, we remember Ev, we picked up our passes, and then we went and we were at that place, and then a couple people there, and Ray walks in, and he gets like, an all egg white omelet with very little oil and a single piece of wheat French toast or wheat toast, no butter. You know what I mean? Like, I saw him order that shit.
Like, smoke a cigarette, please. Something.
God damn, man, hit a blunt or something. I mean, God, I'm not saying you got to be like, and just being like in strip clubs 24/7. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but
we're saying you should be like Inone and in strip clubs 24/7.
Right, exactly. I mean, if you crash your bike at Laguna, run up to the corkscrew, get a beer for some fans, argue with the fucking corner workers, and get sanctioned for the next round.
There's when you are a dominant racer like that, the persona that your fans imagine or want to imagine is a badass hooligan that just fucking gives no fucks and throws it down, and that's what makes him so dominant. But it's really the flip side.
Yeah. But I mean, like Rossi was dominant for just as many years, and everyone loved him for it, right? Like it's motorcycle racing is a fucking reality show where they also race motorcycles. You gotta be that person that everyone wants to be, everyone wants to hang out with. Speaking of which, here is the other photo I have of Heron. A fan, I'm sorry I don't remember your name from the weekend. A fan decided to buy a BrotoGP shirt from me this weekend just to give to Heron. I was going to trade him a hat for it, but a fan bought him the Tricolore BrotoGP shirt, gave it to Heron, and what do we get? Him flipping us off. And that's not the there are a couple other ones too.
Yeah.
Look at the shirt behind Kev. I mean, that's totally the mode. So it's all good. Yeah.
Oh man, so I'll take that one off just in case his sponsors are watching. No, all right. I got one left. I got one voicemail left, and this one is an actual question that we will have to answer.
Hard-hitting question. Marry, screw, or kill. Maverick, Marquez, Lorenzo. It's the Spanish edition. Bye.
Maverick, Marquez, or Lorenzo? Marry, screw, kill.
Well, you can't marry Lorenzo because if everything's not perfect all the fucking time, he goes haywire. You leave a single fucking dish out or one fork with a little bit of fucking food on it, and he goes ape shit, shuts down, won't talk to you. He's in the bathroom crying for the littlest shit. There's no way you can marry fucking Lorenzo. There's no.
You can't screw Lorenzo. Okay, yeah, we'll stick with Mary first. That's how we'll do this one.
You gotta marry Mav. He just seems like he's the most level-headed, like not trying to be too outrageous. Like he seems even keel, You can deal with that for life.
Okay, but so that means you're gonna marry Mav,
Yeah.
And that means you for Marquez, that means you either have to screw or kill him. And I don't know if I'm screwing Jorge.
Yeah, that's the problem. This is a real fucked up thing, and we're all heterosexual males. So
Now, we can break a lot of rules. Speak for yourself, bro. Speak for yourself.
Hey, okay, bud. What do we know, man?
So that means wait. So that means you're screwing Marquez.
I'm gonna go with a really bad joke here. I'm gonna screw Marquez because he can tuck the front really well.
Oh, god damn. That ain't right, dude.
You warned us. I'm
man.
sorry. Hopefully the young teenage boy that listens to us as he goes to bed has already fallen asleep.
Yeah. Fucked up.
If you haven't, Brian, just Google tuck in the front. See what comes up.
No, do not. Wait a couple of years. Then Google it.
Why are we learning this shit?
I mean, we know that the second their parents aren't around, children swear as much as they possibly can. But I feel like there are certain things that they should learn later.
Which, of course,
on
is why I didn't record this episode last week at my mom's house while I was helping her recover from surgery. Because you would have gotten fucking Leave It to Beaver, Kevin. Golly, Everett, that race sure was entertaining.
I saw this thing on Instagram. It was like some parent posting, why is it that I tell my kid this, or I say thank you and please around my kid like a million times every day, but the one time I say ask fucker, motherfucker, or something like that, they repeat that instantly. Like, how's that even possible, right?
Right, because you say that shit with conviction. You never say please and thank you with conviction.
That's it, right there. Nailed it. First shot.
Oh, man. Okay, no.
I don't like that question. Go back to bees.
That
bees wasn't a question.
That was a fucked up question.
That's
man.
not a question, Professor.
I think we're in agreement that we are killing Jorge, we are screwing Marquez, and we are marrying Maverick.
Right.
Sure.
I can't see it any other way. I'm not gonna marry Marquez.
It's been a while since we did one of those, huh? It's been like a year.
It's been a while.
Since we did a marry, screw, kill?
I'm not sure we wouldn't have done it if a female listener didn't leave us a message.
We had some fucking weird thing a while back like that at the end of an episode. Anyway.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right, I'm closing this one out fast.
Hold on. Yeah.
Real fast?
I'll do it. Look at Rob's sexy man bod.
There we go.
There you go. He's wearing a shirt. If you're on the video, if you're not on the video and you're listening on iTunes, we have created a new shirt. It's exceedingly popular. In fact, our initial run of an unspecified amount basically sold out at Laguna, and we decided that we would do a short pre-order for anyone that liked them. It's a Ducati 90s, 80s font-inspired tricolore design. There's a red shirt, there's a white shirt, there's a black shirt. They come in pretty much every size, women's small through extra large, male small through triple X, because one guy bought 4 triple X's. He's got, he's ready to party. And they're available. The $25, which includes shipping. Yes, with the international shipping. The pre-order started Tuesday at 9 a.m. and it lasts for 48 hours. And after that 48 hours, which obviously will be Thursday at 9 a.m., we are closing it, and Rob is putting the order in. After that, we will not make this shirt again. If you don't fucking believe me, look at the shirt behind me. The fact that that's a women's small, not a man large, which means even I don't have one, and we've never made another one of these again. The Nintendo shirt we haven't made again. This shirt is one batch only, one full batch this week, and that's it. If you want one, PayPal us $25 with your shipping information, your name, size, color, and quantity. And the PayPal is, are you ready? Do you have your pens out or your phones to click? It is brotogp.tho@gmail.com.
And though is spelled T-H-O.
So that is brotogp.tho@gmail.com.
Damn, he even spelled out the com.
Wow. Boom.
He went there. all the sizes we're putting in the order. Demand was considerably higher than we expected, and especially with different sizings and stuff, we essentially guessed wrong on all that. So that's why we're doing this pre-order system. I guarantee if you put in the pre-order in time, I guarantee that you will get the specific color that you want. If you do not get the pre-order in time,
of the 3 colors that we listed,
of these 3 colors, right?
We have had multiple questions about mixing and matching them. No. Red, white, or black with the same corresponding logo. We can't like custom make every single thing. We give you 3 options. That's what you can choose from.
Yeah, but you can buy as many of each color as you want. But these are the 3 that you get right now.
Correct.
If you do not get your specific color in, we will attempt to sell you if there's anything left. But to be fair, there were a lot of people wanted a large, and that sold out real fast at the racetrack.
Yeah. So the entire reason we're doing the pre-order is because we sold out more than we expected in person, and we want everyone who wants one to get one. We love our fans. We're a community. We're all like kind of part of this family. We joke about having other people on. We play you guys on. This is part of it. We're trying to make stuff that you guys like. Rob and I came up with this design in San Diego while eating weird Asian chicken wings and beer or something. It was like the broiest bro thing that ever happened.
They were amazing. They're amazing. It's Korean chicken wings. It's fucking awesome.
Yes, it was dope. And
Kev had a tournament. He needed just protein and nothing else.
Right.
So we went and got chicken.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Pure chicken. Right. Right.
Everett, come down. Come down. It's good.
It was like Rob took me out too. We showed up and he was just dominating wings, and I was that girl that had like 4 wings, and I'm like, I'm full, and I had just the water, and then I was like picking at the little like garnish afterwards, like because I could eat like the fucking piece of celery because I'm trying to keep my finger. So to reiterate, these shirts 48 hours only. If you are on Instagram, BroGP Army, or BroGP's Facebook, you've already seen them. If you haven't, because of the weird algorithm changes to both those platforms, just turn on the notifications and go look at them. They are there. All the information is written out on that. Message me or Rob or email us at that same email you just listed and ask any questions. But 48 hours, we will get them exactly the size and color options that you want, and we will get them shipped out, and it will be dope.
It is, yeah. It will be absolutely dope. And if you miss out on these shirts, we're printing more. So
more of a different designs.
Of a different design. Thank you, Kev. All right. We're closing this one out. Thank you to Riders Law for supporting this episode. And thank you for allowing me to hang these shirts right here. We will be coming at you with a World Superbike / Moto America episode sometime soon. A bunch of you people asked about
what do you
my
mean,
racing.
You people?
A bunch of yes, a bunch of you fans. A bunch of you fans asked about my experience at Laguna Seca. I've got some video of shit that I accomplished. We'll probably be playing that. I doubt it'll be 2 hours. But we'll get you that.
And if you want the video of Eugene Laverty in a BrotoGP shirt dancing to Genuine's My Pony, fuck you. You had to be there.
But yes, I do have the picture up right now of Eugene Laverty, Fabian, who is the Riders Law team manager and a Moto America Twins racer now, me, and Chaz Davis, all in BrotoGP shirts. So you know these things are popular. Chaz Davis, if you wanted a medium in red, he got one of them ahead of you. He really did. And Eugene Laverty got a small in tricolor because I still had plenty of those.
Everett, what I'm trying to say is if this shirt is good enough for 2/3 of a World Superbike podium, it's good enough for you.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. We will catch you next Tuesday at the latest with the Austin MotoGP round. But probably before then, we're gonna record some Moto America stuff. Peace.